All right, welcome back to Press A to Talk, episode 5. In this episode, I'm again joined with my co-hosts Mike and Neko, and in this episode, we discuss Monster Hunter, the Monster Hunter movie that just came out, and also everything that's going on with Cyberpunk 2077. So I hope you enjoy. Mike, what did you think?
All right, short and sweet of it. I was not expecting it to be good at all. Because I've watched the previous movies by the same guy, the Resident Evil movies, and I don't know. I've already gone to the point where like I'm not expecting anything good. So when I went to watch the movie, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't disappointed. It was about on par of what I expected.
Oh, okay. I was expecting worse.
More bash, yeah.
I was expecting more bash.
No, like... Okay, so
you have pitchforks that night, man.
I've talked with Neko off podcast about the movie.
Unfortunately, we had too much time.
We've had a lot of arguments. We'll probably touch on them a little bit more, but yes. Most of my complaints come from the fact that the movie just isn't loyal to the game. And I think that if you're going to make a video game movie, you should have some sort of respect towards the IP that you're making a movie about. You see movies like Detective Pikachu and Sonic, where like the whole Sonic, like the Sonic movie is quite literally a really good example, because at first they started with the horrible Sonic design that really just shocked everyone. It was
Sonic was looking like an actual video game movie.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But it was already like, there's just another one, right? And then like the people that were working on the movie were like, no, we're gonna listen to you guys. We're gonna work on Sonic, and
spend a couple of millions.
And they spend a shit ton of money, and they liked the movie. And then when they re-released the trailer with the new design,
they make up for it and more.
Holy shit, that was it looked amazing. Mm-hmm. Like that is what I expect from a video game movie, to pay to have some sort of respect for the IP. Detective Pikachu delivered because the Pokemon company was behind that. Mm-hmm. So like even though that the Pokemon looked very realistic, but it still looked like you could still tell that, oh my god, that was Charizard. Yeah. Oh my god, that's Gengar. Oh, Pikachu.
And the world in the movie was like really immersive.
Exactly.
Like I was expecting it to be like Dragon Ball Evolution or something like that. Just like
right?
really crappy.
No. No. Like I think like those two movies are basically like what I want to be the standard. Mm-hmm. Like right, like those are my expectations for video game movies. So for like to see Monster Hunter, yes. The monster designs are very reminiscent of the game, but you only had 3, maybe 4 monsters overall. You don't have like the ecosystem of them living together. It just felt like they were like just put there, like placed there, and it made no sense whatsoever. Mm-hmm. It's the world that you start in, right? Like the movie starts in. And then the people get transported into the other world. This is not spoilers because this is part of the trailer, so you can definitely see that. But you can see that the world is just barren, like it's just sand. There's no ecosystem. Monster Hunter is all about the ecosystem, and then you hunting in that ecosystem. Mm-hmm. The hunter the hunted becoming the hunter in a sense, right? Because when you're in a world full of like giant ass dinosaurs and flying monsters. Like you're basically at the bottom of the food chain at that point. Mm-hmm. So you go out and fight these monsters and you get better, but you're basically a part of that ecosystem. And the movie does not feel like that. It just feels like they're just in this random ass area, and then just monster right there. Oh, you just so happens that these like giant spider monsters were like living underneath. Oh, the Rathalos out of nowhere to protecting some random ass thing. What? Like,
honestly, it wasn't even protecting anything. And now that you think about it, he was just chilling around the area.
Well, the movie made it seem like he was protecting it.
Yeah, but then they show you the other one. It's like,
it makes no fucking sense. Like,
I will point out that the budget of this movie is $60 million, where if you wanted to make an actual Monster Hunter, like a Monster Hunter World movie, you would probably be looking at something 3 times the budget of this.
Right.
I'm going to toss it right here, because now that you brought it, and I was going to bring it up later, Detective Pikachu was $150 million.
Pokemon as a whole is like, isn't it like the most like successful like IP in the world or something like that?
Yeah, like Pokemon was so successful that they kind of like separated themselves from Nintendo.
Exactly.
They've become their own thing.
Yeah. And there was no way that even with the budget that big that the movie was going to fail. It did really good.
Yeah, and then going real quick to Sonic, they're like 81 and 95 million.
But I will mention this, like, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have a good director that is able to take this idea of this movie and really execute it like well, you're no matter how much money you put in there, it's still not going to deliver.
I think this brings me into my 2 problems, which are the editing is the worst thing I've seen since like Taken 3. Do you remember the meme with Taken 3 where like Liam Neeson jumps over a fence and it's like a 5-second like sequence? He like jumps over this fence and within 5 seconds they cut 12 times. It's like cut. It's insane.
They're hard cuts too, aren't they?
I counted like the cut average in this movie. I didn't count every cut, obviously. I wasn't sitting there like 1, 2. But take something like La La Land, where there are cuts in the movie, but like some dance and musical number sequences are done in 1 take.
Yeah.
The longest shot in this movie is probably about 6 seconds, and it's a shot you see about 18 times, which is somebody standing on something really tall, and then the camera pulls out.
And the character's looming over their life choices. Yeah. Like there was this one moment in the movie that just felt so awkward. Like they had this like it was like when they jumped into the Monster Hunter world, and then they're like driving around, and then suddenly it cuts to the hunter, like looking at them at a distance with the music just blaring like that weird intro music that they started with, and it's just playing, and then when they cut back into the Jeeps driving around, the music's gone. There's no reason for that.
Music should not be there.
Yeah, like,
it should have been there.
Well, I mean, like it just made no sense.
Or it should have been out of there already whenever they switched to
like
the Hunter.
It's like, like it was just like, we're talking here and then suddenly like there's a hard cut in the podcast and then somebody's like watching over us in a window outside, and then we cut back, music's gone, and we're still talking about like just like normal. Like what?
No. It's like take something like Edgar Wright, who is considered to be like a quick hard cutter, you could say, but with his movies, he only does fast cuts when, say, like something funny is happening. Like, have you seen The World's End? Either of you?
Is it the one with Emma Watson in there as well?
No, that's this is the end.
All right,
The World's End is where it's a bunch of British guys and they go to drink.
Right.
They go to drink from like 12 different pubs, and they have to finish 1 beer from all the pubs. And sort of the joke of the movie is that all like 4 out of the 5 guys get beer, and 1 of them gets like tap water. So like it'll be a quick cut of like beer, and then water. It's like super sad, but that's like. But when they have like actual conversations, it's not quick cut. Like that's the problem with this movie, is that when people are like talking like us, it would be like cut, reaction, show every reaction you possibly can. Don't let the audience get bored. It's like you need to give them a chance to breathe. I literally had no idea what was going on in this movie for like the first 15 minutes because my eyes hurt.
I felt like that too. I feel like so much stuff was like happening so fast. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, like the beginning sequence of the movie, which if they would have spent more time on that, would have been a good intro. Because we start with the characters from the Monster Hunter world traversing in this world and blah blah. But like everything, like there was a moment where like the Diablos started coming in, and there's like 3-4 of them, and then like they started attacking the ship.
Okay, I'm sorry, they weren't clear on how many there were. I thought there was 1. You thought there was like 2, and you thought there was like 6 of them.
Because I told them we were watching the movie, and you saw all these moving parts in the sand, right? And then all of a sudden they go through the whole thing. I managed to kill the Diablos, and I'm like, oh, okay, great, all that work for just 1. Where's the other 2? And he's like, where there's more?
I was like, it kind of felt like that, right? Like it couldn't have just been one causing all that damage at the beginning.
It was multiple sands were moving at the same time, unless he was just spread eagling it. Because
I don't think it was multiple. I think there were so many cuts in this movie that your brain started to make things up.
Like I'm just thinking to myself, like outside of like the whole like just movie, I'm beginning like this probably could have been the fastest Diablos that we ever would have encountered ever, because if he's able to attack from the right and then swim and dunk from the left and just kind of like make it seem like there's more than one person in there.
Yeah,
it literally just astounds me. Like I feel like, and I'm going like into like more of like game arguments. I feel like it would have been a little bit more accurate if they would have picked the
black version.
No. Well, not the black version. Like they wanted to go for the subspecies.
You're talking about
the whole reason why
Uniblow wasn't it or something like that?
No, like the black Diablos is a subspecies of the original Diablos, right?
Yeah,
so like the original Diablos is tan colored because he's supposed to blend with the sand.
Yeah.
It would have made more sense to have the Diablos be sand, like, you know, his original color, because then you would be able to like story-wise have it make sense with what was happening in the beginning sequence. You can't see what was going on because it could have been one, it could have been three. But the fact that you can clearly see there's a black thing moving in the sand.
I mean, it wasn't black, was it?
Yes, the Diablos was black.
Because I didn't remember saying it's a black Diablos while watching it, but I only thought because that I said it because it looked somewhat darker, not actually black.
No. Like they made it a big deal because like if you go to Iceborne, like the Monster Hunter World, and you go do the movie quest, they specifically put a black Diablos as the monster to hunt for.
I literally just did a mission like 2 days ago or a day ago.
You don't remember fighting a black Diablos?
No.
No, like yeah, like it's a black Diablo. No, it's a black Diablos. And I don't know, like it could have made more sense that maybe they would have tried to like take other monsters. Like there's more monsters than just the Diablos that swim in sand. It would have made a little bit more sense if we had like, I don't know,
you got a point, but the problem is that the only two other monsters in the Monster Hunter World series that swim anywhere are just the two Diablos, right? And then you got the Eurytulus and then the Lavasio.
But that's only if you're taking a Monster Hunter World.
But this movie was all based on
not true, because the last monster that teases and they fight is the Gormagala, which is not introduced in World.
You're right.
This should be where I get into my second problem, which is what you're talking about. Paul W.S. Anderson, who directed this movie, he has a terrible track record, and we also, I don't know if you noticed this, we also had among 12 studios and production companies that worked on this movie, we had Toho incorporated in this film. And this, I think my biggest problem over the editing is that this feels like two Monster Hunter movies. I did at times feel like they were trying to please the fans of the series with, you know, the opening with the ship
the fan service, the characters dressed up.
There is a lot of fan service here, but it is also a Paul W.S. Anderson movie through and through. This feels a lot like the Resident Evil movies to me.
Yes. You know that now that you mention it kind of like just clicked on me. Like it almost felt like Paul W.S. Anderson wanted to make a Resident Evil movie with Monster Hunter. Yeah. Because that's what it almost felt like. It almost felt like it was kind of like a horror-ish type of scenario.
He went for that in a few scenes.
Yes, because
especially in the spider scenes,
exactly. Yeah. Like it just felt like horror-ish. Like it wasn't like Monster Hunter as much as you would have it believe. You're trying to survive in the world, but
it's not a grim thing.
It's more of an action. Like I was like that was another argument that I was like talking with Neko. Like we've seen, and I'm pretty sure I can find movies where we have a similar scenario where you have U.S. Marines or Army people fighting monsters that's not part of their pay grade or whatever, right? But they handled those movies a lot. They handled that situation a lot better in other movies than they did in Monster Hunter. Because I wanted to take into for example the newest Godzilla, where you have all these people trying to figure out what the fuck to do with this giant ass monster that showed up out of nowhere, and it's causing irreparable amounts of damage.
Which got like the most recent Japanese or the most recent American?
I'm not talking about the American. It's that one that
The Shin Godzilla.
Yeah,
it came out in 2016. It's like just Godzilla.
I want to say that's the one.
Okay, yeah, because it's a remake of the original, and they're like he just kind of it's like this fish that comes out of nowhere, and then he evolves into like
because I remember because like that was the Godzilla that was being directed by the person that did Neon Genesis Evangelion.
That's Shin Godzilla.
Yes,
which is a better Monster Hunter movie than this.
But my point still stands. Like you, I'm pretty sure that if we can like if you wanted to like just go through like a whole bunch of movies where they have the same premise, they'll handle it just just a tiny bit better, right? Like you know, it really depends on which movie we're trying to bring up, but we'll have more success in handling that type of scenario than Monster Hunter. Because in Monster Hunter, it almost made no sense why these like army people were trying to look for this lost team. That did not feel like it made sense to me. It almost felt like they were going AWOL just for the sake of finding this other team.
Mm-hmm. I mean, as far as I remember, they were just going somewhere and they just tried to communicate with the A team or B team or whatever the team was, and they weren't responding. And at that moment, they maybe had deviated a little bit, but regardless, they were still going somewhere.
No, then that should have been further
more expressive.
Yeah, like it should have been more explained. Because what I took from the movie was this A team went AWOL to look for B team, and it almost kind of sounds Resident Evil-y because guess what? Like in the first Resident Evil, you have the first Stars team. I think it was like Bravo that was looking for Alpha, or was it Alpha looking for Bravo?
Same difference.
It don't matter. Yeah. The point is that one Stars team, one group of like policemen from Resident Evil were looking for another group that had disappeared for no godforsaken reason. Mm-hmm. Doesn't that sound like very Resident Evil? Yeah. Like it sounds to me.
They took the same formula.
In this movie, it just feels like a subplot that's just thrown in there so that the characters feel like they're doing something.
Yes,
when the movie could have just been, oh God, there's this giant monster that's trying to eat us.
Yes, and like, and here's the other thing, like, why bring up a lot of these characters at the very beginning of the movie? You're just gonna kill them off in the first couple minutes of the movie.
Okay, yeah. I didn't feel anything when any character in this movie.
It just made no sense. It like if you're just gonna have the main character, like, or rather his wife Mila Jovovich, right? Because like that's what like they're married.
Yeah.
So like if you're just gonna have her be the main character, then just have her be alone from the start. You know, like maybe have it be where like she's driving by herself somewhere because she's looking for the Bravo team, because the Bravo team was that I don't know, her husband or something, like the lover. Like she kept looking at this like ring, which I don't know, like that subplot made no sense to me either. Like she just keeps looking at this ring like, oh, I'll come back. Like, is he dead? Is he lost? Is he part of the Bravo team? Like maybe, I don't know.
They could have really done something.
They could have done something like that. It would have made a lot more sense, and it would have tied a lot better with the story. Yeah. Like she maybe she's holding on to the idea that he's not dead.
I got a couple of things to say to that, and to both of the things, because all right. So the first one will be the amount of characters thrown in there. So you got to remember that we're trying to put into scale how big of a problem this monster is, right? So they're trying to show you off how strong this monster is by just how easily it wipes out a whole team. Clearly, the first team, the Bravo team, was not made by Diablo at all, was all taken care of by Rathalos. So immediately you're thinking, okay, there's a big thing out there. And then you start going forward, and all of a sudden the sand is starting to move, and now you're like 2 teammates down, and it was not even this same monster that you were immediately thinking about in the movie. And so it's trying to give you a scale of how strong it is, right? And I definitely understand it. They should have given them a little bit either more screen time, a little bit more development, definitely. But I feel like they were just there to explain the sheer strength that all of these monsters have, because even then afterwards, the rest of the 4 or 3 that were alive were taken out by these little spiders that will, so they're showing how menacing these things are. So, and that was their purpose at that point. Now, going back to the whole ring and whatnot, what I feel like they should do, because they did not take any advantage of it on this movie, is moving it towards the second movie, because clearly there's gonna be a second movie, and just try to expand on it and explain the why. But also during the caravan, you could see that these like there was another or two soldiers also checking for their mementos or things, like tying them out somewhere else, like kissing them as well, just like she kissed the ring. So I feel like it was just to show that she also had something to care about. But regardless, I do believe that they should have expanded more on it as well, because it didn't give any care of it. Like we don't care about that ring,
right?
At this point,
like I mean, Jake said it himself. He even forgot about the ring in Citizens.
I can't even remember what I remember about this movie.
Me neither. It's been a while, so it's hard to like. Now that you're talking about it,
I just think that honestly, it would have been a little bit more interesting. Like I had this like. I mean, it was like not necessarily like a whole complete pitch, but I was like thinking to myself, like maybe it would have been more interesting that instead of it being some random ass glyphs in the desert, that maybe they were trying to investigate, like I don't know, like this team, this Air Force team was like maybe lost in the Bermuda Triangle, like and like you know we don't know, we never really understand why people get lost in the Bermuda Triangle or something like that. So let's say that we all. Like they send the Navy or something like that to go investigate. Yeah. So we go into the Bermuda Triangle, and suddenly we like, you know, this phenomena, like this island out of nowhere appears. Mm-hmm. This island is full of all the monsters from Monster Hunter, right? It's its own ecosystem separated from the rest of the world. That still keeps the whole premise of the whole two worlds being different. It's just that. Because of the enigma or like the mysterious nature of the Bermuda Triangle, that you know, I don't know if it ever got solved or anything. Like I'm not that smart enough to look into that kind of stuff. I just kind of thought about it, but I thought it'd be cool. Like you know, in the center of the Bermuda Triangle is the new world, right? All these monsters live here and stuff like that, and like you only ever happen to find it by chance. So like they go in there and then they're investigating the team. They suddenly realize, holy shit, there's monsters here. Heck, they get attacked, and the rest of them
even have the tower in there as well, and just have the teleporter right there, because of the fact that nobody has explained, nobody knows
exactly. Like
you're right. Instead of having all these things going in the desert for no reason,
like it just made to me it just made no sense why it would be in a desert. Like and have it be this hard were they there this entire time? How come no one ever noticed?
Exactly.
Like why hasn't this become like why aren't there archaeologists like looking into it like or you know like it just happened to be there. If it would have been something more like I think in like my Bermuda Triangle idea, like it would kind of make a little bit more sense, right? This island is contained within this mysterious triangle that has been an enigma for years. And so once you get into it, you realize the new world, all the monsters are saying, like the movie plot happens, people can die and blah, blah, blah. And she learns how to hunt in this island. And then when they're trying to escape, maybe they could blow up the tower, which is what prevents people from finding this island in the first place. But it also keeps all the monsters in the island out. So now you have the Rathalos flying around everywhere, and they start spreading all over the earth. And then you can have some of a similar situation. Yeah, right? Like something like Jurassic Park. Oh my god, why did they not take the like Jurassic Park and be like, maybe we could do something similar? Instead of like having being an actual park, but just have it be an island full of monsters.
Or fuck Earth and just make a Monster Hunter movie.
You're right?
Why was this like about army men like shooting guns?
We'll never know.
Yeah, I honestly have no answer to that. And I guess as a producer or like a director, like point of view, maybe they didn't take the Bermuda Triangle route out of fear that it's kind of been done multiple times. Whereas the desert part, it really didn't even it's not non-existent.
We've never made a movie about a random storm desert that transport you to
another so world. Let's go ahead and make it, even though that makes no sense. You know. So my thing is.
I think like it would have been even more interesting to see like these like just have it be like a couple like 20-something-year-olds playing Monster Hunter, and then suddenly they get transported into the game
or something.
Yeah, and then suddenly they're like, oh my god, Monster Hunter,
that
and then
like more fun than this.
But they don't realize the gravity of the situation. Like they're in the world, they are going to die, and then they try to take some of the expertise that they got from the game and apply it into like a real life scenario.
Like just trap
something like that, bro. Like the possibilities to make an actually enjoyable Monster Hunter movie are probably endless. If you really put some time and effort and thought into it, you'd probably be able to get a better product than what we got.
I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say enjoyable, because me personally, I did enjoy Monster Hunter movie, and I know it's a hot take, but I did enjoy it. It was fun. I was arguing this with Mikey the other time, and I think I did say that whenever we came out, is that it is a C tier movie for the C tier crowd. Meaning it's not made for the people that are the no Monster Hunter in and out. It's not made for that purpose. It's just made to getting the name out there, and then whenever people realize there's a game after this, what? And they read it and they see the monster that they saw in the movie, they're like, I'm gonna try it. And then so happens that the game is so much better than the movie that they're just gonna get sucked in and never actually get out of Monster Hunter.
Well, I hope that's the case, because for me, I don't think it sold anything at all. If anything, it'll shoot people away from Monster Hunter because they're just gonna think that it's gonna be something like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
because like here's my thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they made the Resident Evil movies, they sold pretty well. They were bad, but they kind of sold. Like people went to watch these.
I mean, they made what, 6 of them?
Yeah, but like here's my thing, and I thought that was funny. It like as they were halfway into making these movies, Capcom went out of their way to actually start making good CG Resident Evil movies, to kind of be like, don't watch that. Watch this. Did you notice something as well? That Capcom wasn't mentioned in the credits at all?
No. Not just like in Resident Evil.
I didn't.
Like just in the Resident Evil.
Like they take this IP, but like it doesn't seem like Capcom was like behind the idea either.
Because like you watch something like Sonic and they have like legit like a 30-second intro for Sega. You see like Yakuza and Shenmue and all this crazy stuff.
Detective Pikachu also had
the
Pokemon in their.
Well, it may have had Pokemon, but it did not have.
No, they had
or anything of the sort.
Well, not Nintendo. Remember, because like Pokemon became its own thing.
It may have.
So you're not gonna
see. But then you didn't
not
see
even
Game Freak though.
Not even, because Game Freak is a developer studio for Nintendo. But when if you were to look up, Pokemon became the Pokemon Company, and the Pokemon Company logo was in Detective Pikachu. Mm-hmm. So they were backing that movie. Not necessarily not Nintendo. Like Nintendo doesn't need to back the movie. Game Freak doesn't either. It's the Pokemon Company themselves. They supported Detective Pikachu.
The Pokemon Company owns the IP. Capcom owns Monster Hunter.
Yes,
like this is.
But then you gotta think about it, because it happened both in Resident Evil and this one. It wasn't that they didn't want to mention Capcom. It's just like Sony didn't necessarily. Well, I think Sony did show off Marvel whenever they were doing the Spider-Man movies. But they didn't have to, because they bought the rights to adapt for the movie. Well, I don't think, and now that I'm thinking about it, I cannot think of the Marvel logo being any of the first trilogy of the Spider-Man at all. I'm trying to go back.
It opened with that. It did like Columbia, and then it did Marvel.
It did Marvel?
Yeah.
Because the thing is that both Resident Evil and Monster Hunter were bought to be adapted. They weren't necessarily collaborating.
I understand that.
So
I think that's a big problem.
That's a big tell right there, right? If you don't if you don't have the company even trying to support the movie that you're making, what does that say?
Mm-hmm.
To an extent, now that I'm thinking about it, does even Resident Evil have Konami backing them up?
Konami.
Did it?
Yeah. Capcom?
No. My Silent Hill is what I wanted to say. My bad.
Oh, I have no idea.
I'm kind of curious about that.
Do you want to fact check that, Nico?
Wait, repeat that.
Silent Hill, the
movie.
Did Silent Hill the movie contain Konami in their credits? Did they even show or anything like that? Now I'm kind of curious about that, because that those movies kind of flopped too, didn't they?
At least critically, they did.
They did have Konami in it.
They did have Konami backing them up.
Konami. Konami is
so Konami was actually backing them up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean that, but at least they backed up the project. You don't see at least in Monster. I would have to go back and I mean I'll take Neko's word for it, but I honestly don't remember at any point. Maybe in the end credits, but I didn't stay long to see them. But I didn't see Capcom anywhere close. I saw
No.
Toho. I saw.
Because that was gonna be one of my arguments is that you got Pokemon being backed by, I guess, the Pokemon company, but then you don't have Resident Evil nor Monster Hunter being backed by their own company, gaming company wise. So hence why the movies are not necessarily too loyal to the game. Also, I was telling Mikey that one night after watching the movie was that like whenever they made Resident Evil, they weren't making Resident Evil to make Resident Evil, but rather just making another zombie movie that was interesting. So they added the Resident Evil aspect to it, the T virus and all these crazy things to it. So it was just making a new zombie movie.
Yeah,
and to sell.
Yeah, I remember that conversation because I retorted with like just saying like you don't just take the title of a movie and then just do nothing with it. Mm-hmm. Like when you're adding the title of Resident Evil into a movie, mm-hmm. you know, you're basically saying this is the movie version of the game Resident Evil.
And you would think
the same idea with Monster Hunter. You would think, right?
You would think.
But I pose this question to you. Like if I were to take Monster Hunter out the title Monster Hunter out of this movie, would you be able to tell like without having any previous Monster Hunter experience whatsoever that it's Monster Hunter? Probably not. Probably not.
No. Well, no. If I don't know what Monster Hunter is, I'm gonna.
Yeah. Right.
You're just gonna think it's another monster movie.
Right. But
still not a great movie though.
Yeah, but at least here's the thing. You would Sonic in itself, right? Like Sonic was big enough that people who didn't even know who Sonic was went to see the movie. Mm-hmm. It wasn't maybe didn't.
It's a Smash character.
It didn't. Yeah, maybe. It didn't sell as well in the U.S. as it did outside of the U.S.
I used the B button on that guy.
But I don't know if I were to take all of these other video game movies and then take the title away from them, I'd still be able to tell on a lot of these some are pretty a lot of these are still pretty understandable. Right, Sonic. If you know Sonic, you're gonna know that it's Sonic. Mm-hmm. Pikachu is so well known that you would know that it's a Pokemon movie no matter what.
Yeah.
Resident Evil, even though that it was like Neko says, it could have been just another zombie movie that they made, but it had enough of the Resident Evil spices in it. Right, it had enough of the flair of Resident Evil that you could tell that it was Resident Evil. Mm-hmm. You still have the hunters, the lickers. They showed up and I think it was in the first movie. In the second movie, they had Nemesis and they had Raccoon City. They had Jill Valentine. In the later movies, they started adding more Resident Evil characters. So you can still kind of, if you were somewhat acquainted with it, you still be able to know that this is still somewhat Resident Evil, right?
Yeah.
But Monster Hunter, it just didn't sell it to me. Mm-hmm. Nobody would have been oh, Monster Hunter at the beginning if they didn't knew who all these people were, because that's another thing, the main people in the intro didn't get introduced either. You don't know who if you know about Monster Hunter World, you know who they are. But if you don't, if you've only played a Monster Hunter once and never touched it again, you're not gonna know who the Admiral is. You're not gonna know who the handlers are, the hunters. Mm-hmm. It's just I don't know. It just felt like it was not in there.
To wrap this up, did we mention the fact that this movie is almost less finished than Cyberpunk 2077?
You just had to bring that up, right?
Because the ending was just I thought it was going to keep going.
I thought so too.
It's like if Captain America said Avengers Assemble and then the credits just started rolling.
Wait. You're talking about the ending of Monster Hunter?
Yeah.
All right, but real quick though, and I'm not touch this as the last couple of sprinkles as to why I think that the movie did its job.
Okay.
And
it is that after the release of that movie, the next day, it wasn't exactly the next day, but the day after. So 2 days after release, the number of people who played Monster Hunter for the first time spiked.
Ooh.
Spiked. It actually went up. I went ahead and checked in Steam, and I checked as well in just PlayStation in general, and you could see that it went from 43,000, and 2 days after it jumped to 48. The next day it jumped to 50, and then like it kept that same number and it's now slowly decreasing, but regardless it's still there. So I feel like the movie ultimately did its job because they bought the licensing to make the movie, but and the thing is that you gotta think about it this way. You want to just make a monster movie, right? Whatever it is, you want to just make it so it's interesting, but then even if it's not loyal to the game, but Capcom is gonna tell you, I want the name on it. I want the name on that title, because the problem is now, thanks to that name being in the title, we got the spike on sales, or we got the spike on players. Okay. So it could have been that their whole intention was to not go that route with Resident Evil nor Monster Hunter, but that's their terms. It's, we're gonna give you the idea, just make sure that it has our name. So I do feel like that is ultimately what they're going for.
I mean, that's a fairly sound argument. Like now it begs the question. Like I wonder, like, you know, if that is truly the case, like, you know, I would like to see if there was any impact on people like playing Sonic or Pokemon.
I'm pretty sure they did. I'm pretty sure they
I know for me, literally, right as I saw the Sonic movie,
because
I went to buy this classic Sega Genesis console.
Yeah.
So they do their
I
job.
will say this though, like it like that. I do agree with that, because when the Witcher series came out, a lot of people like jumped back into The Witcher 3. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's like you do have a point there.
Don't get me wrong. I will definitely back up your whole argument of like they should have still made a better game. I mean, a better movie, a better job with the movie, because outside of the army, outside of the military, that could have gone any other way.
Think about it like the way I think about it is this way. Like, since you brought that up, imagine if the movie would have been a lot better. How much would have it exploded with people like jumping into play Monster Hunter? Because like, I mean, if the movie is showing an accurate depiction of what Monster Hunter is, like all the action, all the excitement of hunting monsters, the thrill, the chase, like that would have been like, holy shit, I kind of want to play this game now. Like, is it really as good as the movie's showing me to? Mm-hmm. Like
that's what it needs to be.
That's what it needed to be. It would have
been amazing. It would have been better.
Honestly, if going forward they go with more of a Jurassic Park-ish like idea of it, where like, you know, it's not about, you know, you fighting the monster or any, like it's just the thrill, the chase. You're hunting a monster and monster's hunting you. Like, what do you do? Like, you know, that feeling, because like I love Jurassic Park. It felt good. I like really those movies are really good in my opinion.
Even the ones that didn't do great, they were still
good. The ones that didn't do great were still pretty good. Mm-hmm. Like, and it was all because of that excitement, that thrill, that adrenaline chase of like, holy shit, you have this giant ass monster behind me, and you're just running and trying to like escape it. You know, like.
And another thing that I remember that we all argue, and then this is gonna be a quicker argument, or
we probably do need to wrap up this section.
Yeah. Is the fighting scenes between the hunter and the main character? They feel unnecessary.
Yes.
But I feel I've now realized why. They were showing off Tony Jaa, the guy that was fighting with her.
Oh, the actor?
Yeah, they were showing him off because of the fact that apparently he's the new Jackie Chan, the new Jet Li.
I get you.
So that's why they were showing off.
They could have just given him dual blades, and he could probably just like start slicing and dicing the monster. Come on.
My problem with this is that, again, I go back to the editing. If you want to showcase a kung fu master's moves in a movie, you want to see it. You don't want it to be a slideshow of just dumb. Man, like we could talk about this.
You know, like how cool it would have been, like when like. This Tony Jaa guy, if that was the intention, just give him the dual blades and then have him do all the crazy kung fu flipping shit on the monster. Like, come on, like they didn't even get to show the Beyblade move in the game, where like the guy literally just does a spins on top of the monster, like cutting him like all the way down to the back. Like, you could have done that. It could have been interesting, but
it would have been better.
That would cost $5 million.
Well, you know, whatever.
It would have been better, but
it could have been, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Another thing that could have been and it wasn't good. Let's talk Cyberpunk.
Yeah, we got to get to this.
All right.
Cyberpunk.
This is the moment that I personally dread the most, because I was like, I don't even know how to.
Two weeks ago, man, it was, or was it 3? Yeah, it was 3 weeks ago. we were sitting here, I was telling you how I had no expectations. I was probably just gonna think it was fine. It was gonna be the best game ever for you. It was your most anticipated game.
I have been burned out of older games, so I wasn't looking forward to anything either.
I don't know what to say. Like, it's not that I had high expectations of this game, but I already had expectations set up because of their previous works. You know, The Witcher 3 was amazing. It's like, yes, it was buggy at the beginning, but there's an argument to be made that if The Witcher 3 was buggy at the beginning, that they should have fixed that. They should have learned from The Witcher 3 and then implemented what they learned from The Witcher 3 and did it on Cyberpunk. There was a lot riding on this game. I remember saying that, like, if this game were to fail in any sort of way, that their reputation would plummet.
Yeah.
And plummet it did.
Let's rewind 3 weeks ago, and Future Us comes in. Hey, yeah, Cyberpunk or CD Projekt Red, they have a lawsuit against them for how bad Cyberpunk is.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, that's the craziest thing. Like, I would like 3 weeks ago, I would have believed that it would have come down to this point. Mm-hmm. Like, if you would have told me,
thought 3 weeks time.
If
that's
you would
not
have
that long.
If you would have told me that this was gonna happen, at best I wouldn't like. At best I wouldn't believe you, and at worst I would just chalk it up to a 2020 thing. You know?
Yeah. Which this is 2020's last fuck you to all of us.
Yeah. Right. A whole year.
You thought gamers were safe. Screw y'all.
A whole year of shit. A whole year of just a whole bunch of IRL stuff happening.
Yes.
The Last of Us being extremely controversial. Ghost of Tsushima, like, you know, becoming a self game to our lives because it was a sleeper hit, if anything. Because no one knew about the Ghost of Tsushima until it fucking came out.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
I wasn't even gonna buy it.
Because I remember seeing the trailer for it, and I completely forgot about it until literally a week before it came out.
Yeah.
And then
I honestly did not. I just saw a content creator sit playing. I'm like, oh, that looks cool.
And then the thing that we were looking forward to the most was Cyberpunk, which got delayed 3 times.
Yes.
3 times. And I can see why. And that's the saddest thing about it. I got into this game giving it the benefit of the doubt. It started amazing for me. Like, it felt like it felt almost like a lot of the stuff that they had advertised, they had come and delivered. I had meaningful choice. The intro sequence was kind of short. It felt kind of rushed, but then I jumped into my life as a merc, and then I had actual choices. Like, it felt like my input in this game mattered. And then the Maelstrom mission was over, and then it just felt super railroady. Like, you go and you start setting up the heist into Arasaka Tower, and at first it felt like you had a little bit of options. Like, I remember you walking in and you could go to the bar and do a little bit more investigation, some more prep work, but nothing came off of that. I went up to the room, I used the flathead. The flathead was a complete disappointment because they had advertised that you could use the flathead more. Like, I think I remember the trailer saying that if you spec'd into engineering, if you spec'd a lot into engineering, you could potentially use the flathead in multiple scenarios. Like, the flathead died right then and there.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't use it after that. Then you go up all the way to the top. Stuff happens. You get the chip. Stuff happens again. And then you're trying to escape the tower with Jackie wounded and almost dying. There's no other way of getting around that. You go through the rest of the tower until you get on the car, and Jackie just dies in front of you. You have no other way of saving him, and then the whole mission is just botched. You end up dying, and to me, it just felt like I was stripped Like it felt from playing like my own story to just playing something closer to The Last of Us, where I'm just watching a story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And from then on, like there were just a whole bunch of other things that I tried to like just be blind. Like the game is great, and then there's things where like I end up scratching my head and I just don't know what happened. Like I think it was like later on where when I realized that like I wanted to make this build. Like I wanted my co-pro to have some sort of like a John Wick where like he's like really smart, really tactical, really cool. You know, he knows how to use a handgun. He knows how to hack. He knows how to talk. He knows how to negotiate. And, you know, I also wanted to delve into the crafting aspect to see what it, you know, how far can I get into it until I realized that my points, my stat points, I had spread them too thin. And now all of them, and I like almost all of them, like save one or two, almost all of my skill points are maxed out because I cannot put any more points in my stats because I have to level up.
Yeah.
I cannot have any meaningful progress in my character until I get enough experience to put 1 point in any of my stats so that I can then progress more into that field. Fuck, Skyrim did it better. Skyrim, like you had your level and then you could go max out on your crafting skill like literally in the first couple of minutes of the game if you really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why does this game like limit me? And that's just one problem. You know, you like all the other glitches and all the bugs I can kind of like I can kind of just ignore because like yes I'm playing on the PS5 version and yes it crashes on me and yes there's shit that happens but I mean it's not consistent enough for me as in my own personal experience. It's not consistent enough for me to have it be an annoyance. Like most of my time I spend it and I go through the missions. I have fun. I shoot all the enemies. Like the combat feels great. I do like I was delving into like close quarters combat with swords and items, and it just seems like the game wasn't fully designed with close combat in mind.
It was really not.
Because like I would have at least expected to like be able to block some bullets when I'm holding the block button, but it just seems like I don't. So I like if I have like 5 guys literally like pumping lead on me and I don't have any ways of blocking that, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, and the fact that it's easy to just lose your target in middle of a missed punched as well.
Yes.
It's easy to like. Don't get me wrong. It is close to what a real fight will be probably, but as a game, it did feel kind of clunky because then you have to like reposition yourself, walk back. Okay, there he is. Let me miss my next punch.
Exactly. Like, another issue that I have is that unless you know how to exploit the game, money is a real issue.
Yes.
You do not get enough
time.
money to be able to get anything at all. There was an argument that they have made when the PC, because I actually found out that the save data issue, it was PC only.
Yes,
I think we have come to the conclusion on that. It's a PC issue because like I was able to check my save data, and Neko, you check your save data too.
420.
And we're like almost like at 400 megabytes of like at least for me.
Total, yes, it was mine was like 194.
It was pretty high up there, like and then I didn't have any problems with it. I kept doing the crafting exploit, and nothing happened. But outside of that, if I were to just stop, like if I would have never found out about this exploit at all, I would have had no way of making any meaningful progressions in my cyberware either, or weapons for that matter. Weapons are overly priced. Like how are you supposed to like get a lot of these like legendary items if they cost so much? If the idea is to craft, then
But this is the chain of events that pisses me off, because the idea is to craft. Crafting too much lends you, if you're playing on PC, lends you to be more vulnerable to these save fails.
Yes.
And it's like, how could you screw that up?
Yes.
And again, to go back to money being an issue, the weapons is like the least of my worries. There's about like, I think I have 20 like cars to buy to like fill out my like compendium of like cars to get.
Right.
Some of them range into like 160,000 eddies, and there's like 20 or 30 of them. So it's like I'm gonna be playing this game for a little while if I want to get every car in the game.
Right.
And by a little while, you know, that's like hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
And like the thing that really bothers me is that like when this whole like save data issue arose, you know, I think it was one of the people one of like somebody, I don't remember if it was one of the actual developers or if it was just the guy running the forums on their forum blog, but like one of them was saying like if you want to minimize your issue, and I'm just paraphrasing here, if you want to minimize your issue with the save with your save data corrupting, play the game less, craft less, play the game less, loot less. Like what kind of response is that?
Yeah,
he said like because like his argument was that the game like the CD Projekt Red games are finite. It means that you play the game to the end, and that's it. You start up a new character and you start all over again. Like the CD Projekt Red games weren't designed to have the post the post game content be I guess a core aspect of the game.
Yeah.
You were meant to play it as if you would The Last of Us.
Just a beeline
from point A to point B. Once you're done with the game, you start over.
See, but then if that is a counter to that argument is that if you were to play the game that particular way, then the game lacks to be interesting for you to bring another character up. So at that point, if you're just beelining your way to the end, the game doesn't give you enough reason to say, you know what, I want to play this again. Let me try another build. So like, and that is ultimately the flaw that it has by having that particular bug
right,
for
and like,
PCs.
Like the thing is, like, you make the world open world enough. Because like, here's the thing: not everyone beelines it to the end of the main story.
I am like a prime example.
You are exactly like you like to spend your time going through everything.
Every little corner,
every possible person that has even one bounty on them, like $1 bounty on them, you go after. And it's funny, but it's true. Like it's just how you play.
It is true.
Like,
freeze, cracker.
Legit, I'm scanning everywhere. It's like, oh, that guy has a yellow arrow on top of him. Let me fight him. I don't know why.
Like, by their definition, they're telling you to not do that. They're telling you not to enjoy the game the way that you would enjoy the game for the sake of them not fixing this possible issue that, like, what kind of response is that?
That's a Bethesda response right there.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like.
So wait, this was an actual person from CD.
Yes, I don't know if it was from CD Projekt Red,
but
it could have just been some asshole like with admin status or anything like that. Like
it could have been.
Like it doesn't. Like to me,
I thought it was like a statement. I'm like that. Then why sell the game? Yeah, but if it's not a statement by,
I mean, it looked like it might have not been their intention, but the sentiment is still there.
Yeah,
because right now they're facing a lawsuit over this game. The fact of the matter is that the game did not deliver.
Unfortunately,
you could argue that it was because it was overhyped, but even people who were not as hyped up into this game can still see the glaring issues that the game has.
Yeah, me myself, I can definitely see now that and it's not that I'm not defending the game, right? Because the game still has potential, a lot of potential, right? But at the beginning of the game, I saw nothing problem, no problem at all. My game was crashing all the time. I got a base PS4, so it's to be expected. But then I realized, wait, they literally just released this game for PS4 or for last gen. Mm-hmm. PC is the only one that had an upper hand because you could have the
depending on what you have.
Yeah, you can have a master race PC and then you can play no problem. But even then, you were still having your issues,
but
right?
Here's the thing is they advertised it that it was gonna run on PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, PS5, PC.
Didn't they delay it the third time in the first place to optimize it on PS5 and Xbox Series X? They said they were done with the PS4
Well, maybe
version.
not PS5 or Series X, but I think their intention was to say PS4. But I mean, look at how they released the game. Like a couple of weeks ago, they had before the game launched, they had given review copies to everyone, and they let them review copies, but they didn't want them to show their own gameplay. So they gave them pre-recorded footage that they used, and then the week that the game released, they let them
released the NDA of
the NDA, and then they were able to release their own thing, and everyone had the same issue. Mm-hmm. And then that's also when people realized that the PS4 version is what the fuck happened.
Yeah, and again, in experience, again, the game doesn't stop being enjoyable if you're able to ignore these things, but then you go into the glaring facts of like actual core gameplay aspects that are not even polished. Like Mikey was talking about earlier, about how his build no longer works because he's stretched too thin. Mm-hmm. And whenever you go ahead and try to do a respec on the skills, it only resets the inner skills. It does not reset the whole points.
I cannot respec my stats.
Yeah, like
I can only respec like my perks. Yeah, that's it. And not only that, but the fact that the item that you need to use to be able to respec your skills is already so overpriced that like no matter how I've been trying really hard to get at least just one, and I can't get it because it's just so overly priced. You cannot you're not able to make that amount of money on a regular playthrough at all. Not unless you really, really went out of your way to exploit the game.
And I do wonder though, because of the fact that at beginning early stages of the game, I was able to pay off Vector really fast compared to y'all. So I'm wondering if I just did something else different.
I mean, if I would have done the same thing as you, I probably would have been able to pay him as well.
Probably. But then because I didn't know about this exploit until you told me, and honestly, it doesn't even feel like an exploit, although that it is. But it's just dismantling things and crafting like you were intended to from the get-go, right? So
an absurd amount of items.
For the people that don't know, the exploit that I'm talking about is you go into just any other like vending machine that produces cans. We need the can like soda cans like your
it can't be a big burrito.
No, not that. Like no,
they actually bamboozle me sometimes. I think it's a soda can station. It's like burrito. No,
you have to go like for the Chromanticores, the Nicolas, and all these other like cans, and then dismantle them. They'll give you, they'll give you uncommon, and sometimes they'll give you common items, depending on how far into your crafting, into your crafting skill that you're into. And then you just like because they cost like 10 eddies each, so you can literally just spend. Like a good amount of eddies just getting cans and cans and cans and cans to get all these crafting components, and then just build the highest cost item that you have in your crafting list, craft a bunch of those, and then sell it to your vendor.
Funny thing is that like if it's a green and uncommon rarity, I think it costs the same amount of materials to create it throughout the whole thing, because you show me to go for the Nekomata, which was the sniper rifle, which was the highest thing that I had. Then I realized I could make a jacket, which was a little bit more pricier, and you spend the same amount of crafting materials the same way. So regardless, you will still be making a good chunk of money out of it, because you're just gonna be using the same amount of materials.
That's why you want to spec into crafting in that sense, because whenever you did you have a perk that if you disassemble stuff,
it can give you twice
as much, and then you have another skill that you have a 25% chance to craft an item for free.
Yeah.
So you like those skills help you be able to basically bank. Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, and granted, I haven't finished the game yet.
Me neither.
And I am really trying hard to. At this point, I kind of just want to go through the story and just get the story done with, so that I can kind of put the game on the side until they come and fix it before I come back and enjoy it for good.
And and if it's talking about of gaming experience, how it felt, how it is, with its many flaws, I cannot say that it's not enjoyable whenever it's working good. The game, it does what it needs to do for me, which is just find some entertainment. I like fighting. I like sneaking around, which is so odd because I said that I wasn't gonna be sneaking around, and it's the main thing that I do throughout the whole game. I found myself the Mantis Blades, the legendary ones, which are sick, by the way. It literally one shots everything as long as it's a charge attack. But again, that's another aspect that I think they may need to reconsider looking into. Because if I'm just walking around one shotting everything, even though that it takes one shot to kill me, I feel like there's something wrong. Because I shouldn't be able to murder somebody immediately if they can literally look at me and I'm dead as well. I feel like if they can kill me at that point, I shouldn't be able to kill them after a couple of swipes. So I do think that also needs to be kind of like dove into a little bit more in terms of like fixing, and then as well putting some boundaries in some areas. Not in terms of like you cannot go in there and explore, but there should be like a clear sign of like this place is too high level for you, because I've wandered into high level areas without even knowing, and I cannot get out. Like I actually got stuck for like 20 minutes because I kept dying and respawning in the same spot, and they kept killing me. It was insane. Like I've managed to get out, but it's still something that I feel like they should have been clearer. But outside of that, like the game is still fun. No. You know, if you're able to look past that and not be so enraged by the fact that they weren't able to deliver all the things that they should have because they promised it, it is still a playable game, but not to the point where I was defending it a week ago or so. Mm-hmm. Like, it definitely has its flaws, and I can understand how people want their refunds. But what I cannot understand is whenever people want refunds and then argue because the game is taken out of their library. Yeah. That is to be expected. No, you're asking for
that's just being dumb.
Yeah, it is.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but like I definitely like the game the most out of all three of us, and by a long shot. Like at its best, this is like one of my favorite games. And I think what works most for me is the story, and especially the ending, which I've been like dying to talk about, but neither of you.
I need to finish. I need to get myself. And honestly, I'm enjoying the story. Like I cannot say that I wasn't moved or I wasn't fucking tearing up whenever they killed my best friend Jack.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, that was sad.
That is. I do have to agree. Like as much gripes that I have with the game as of right now, with all these other mechanics and other aspects in this game. Like what's really still keeping me, hooked and playing is the story.
Mm-hmm. The storytelling
like I still want to know what's going on with V. I want to know what's going on with Johnny. I want to get
with Judy.
I want to get to the.
I will turn Judy straight. I will do it.
Don't, because that's another thing that I completely forgot, and I don't want to get into it because that's just gonna piss me off even more.
Yes, we're
I could sit here for hours just talking about all the things that they did wrong. So I want to take a moment to talk about what they're doing right.
Yeah,
because I do think this story is pretty. It's pretty spectacular.
And I do have to say, I got, from what I saw from the Donkey video, he got the ending that only 1.1% of players got, which is the exact same ending that I got. And I told you that it was like super satisfying. Like I was immensely satisfied with how it ended. And so I'm curious what the other endings are and how you react to them.
If it's a 1.1%, is it because nobody's complaining the game because they're bad, or just
maybe?
I don't know, but it was. I think it's because people did finish the game, but it's an ending that I was telling Mike this. It's an ending that I didn't want to pick, but it was like right for my character.
Okay.
Because the way I crafted V was that he was sort of like this Officer K from Blade Runner 2049. You think it's about him the entire time, but really the star of the show is Johnny. And it's about this whole game really is about learning who Johnny is and like what he went through and like taking down these evil it's hilarious that this game is about taking down evil corporations, and it was released because these suits forced CD Projekt Red to release the game. But
management for CD Projekt's management just kind of feels like Arasaka. Mm-hmm. And then like CD Projekt Red is just poor Johnny just trying to uphold the reputation that they had set out to be. Because CD Projekt Red did go out of their way to be pro-consumer. It's just sad that they basically got shot down by their own Arasaka, which just wanted to, be greedy and then get a, I mean, they're not EA levels of Arasaka. I mean, I'll just say, like, maybe, like, if you want to put EA as the big Arasaka and then just have, CD Projekt Red just be one of the, like, minor corpos,
Tiger Claws.
Yeah, not Tiger.
I was just thinking of
what was the other one? Like, it's not Militech. Militech is pretty big, but the Kankao or something like that. Like, I forget. But
Makoshi? You're talking about Makoshi?
No, it could. I don't know.
Another corpo, but smaller corpo.
Yeah. Like, it's. Look, I would say this. Johnny Silverhand is probably like what's still keeping me going.
Yeah.
Truth be told, as much as I don't want it to be, because the game kind of like makes you feel like it's your story instead of Johnny's. But I do have to agree, they put a lot of emphasis on Johnny, and I think it was just because they wanted to give like a good role to Keanu, because Keanu's acting is superb. I've always liked Keanu as an actor. I've always enjoyed his work.
I think this is my favorite performance of his, like,
really?
in his entire career. And what was funny was that, like, all these gaming outlets were saying that he was weaker in terms of, like, voice acting and performance, and he was easily my favorite performance in the entire thing.
I agree. Like, you got to give credit where credit is due. Keanu is an actor. He's not a voice actor. Like, people, like, just like how he dedicates his craft to be a good actor on the screen, these voice actors dedicate a lot of time into their craft, which is to be able to perfect on how to project a voice and how to make it sound like like a character instead of it just being them, right? Because I can't do what they do. Like, give me a couple years and I could maybe get to their level. Maybe. Who knows? I might be able to, like, give you a cool character voice, but you'd still be able to have it sound like me, right? And granted, Keanu still sounds like Keanu. Like, Johnny Silverhand still sounds like John Wick, and he still sounds like Neo, right? Which are his two biggest roles in my eyes. Like,
I'd say so.
Yeah, if anything, Constantine being, like, kind of close, but again, that was a old movie that most people...
Right, but
he tried a few voices one time in Bram Stoker's Dracula, and that didn't go so well. So,
and before people start chewing us out, we know that he has done voice acting before, just in, like, animated movies, like in Toy Story 4. But, like, even then, it's not something that he's been building himself to for the, like, multiple generations.
Right, but, like, here's the thing, like here's the difference between voice acting in a movie and voice acting in a game. A voice acting in a movie, they like the people working on the movie do a lot of the stuff. You just go there and then record a couple lines and that's it. But for video games, they basically have to be like available on demand for the entirety of the game, because you can record a couple lines, like year 2 out of 8, right? Since Cyberpunk was like 8 years in the making. And then by year 4, they go like, "Hey, Keanu, I rewrote some lines for Johnny Silverhand. I need you to come back and redo." Like, it's different. Like,
all those lines that you did, we scrapped them all. Like, can you come over?
And that'll happen. And that'll happen because, like, decisions in like during game development, like, stuff like that happens.
It changes.
It's a completely different beast, and I don't think people understand that. Like, it's game development. Like, recording like audio and voices for game development is a completely different beast than it is for a movie or for music. Like, there's a completely different process. Yes, they may look similar, but they're not.
Yeah.
And for what it is, Keanu did an excellent job. I like Johnny Silverhand.
Yeah.
As much as I think thematically in my story that V will forever be an asshole to Johnny, because, I mean, in my eyes, V thinks of Johnny as nothing more than a parasite. because like my V is basically trying to regain control.
Yeah.
Right now, at this point, he just found out that both his mind and Johnny's, or rather, their memories are melded into one.
Mm-hmm.
So that this is a new problem that my V has to tackle. But that doesn't take away from the fact that V will continue to think of Johnny as just a parasite to him, at least for now.
That's why I like the ending so much, is because for me it was V as a character coming to terms with this guy who is not who he is. V is somebody that would take down Arasaka, but he would take him down for money.
Yeah.
Johnny would take him down because
of principle.
Because of principle, and it's him coming to terms with this is the what's the guy from Spy Kids 3? The guy, like, this is the guy.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
I've seen the memes.
Like I think like. And like one like, and here's why I think like the story like really like if the story really sells it, because there was this one line that when I encountered that line and I heard it, like it really had me sitting down and thinking, and like I did that in the game as well. There's a moment where like after you find Andrews Hellman, who's the guy that made the biochip, he says this specific line, and then you have the option of sitting down and listening to what Johnny has to say on the matter. And I just felt compelled to do that on my own, as me as a person, and then as V. He says like the line that I'm referring to is I'm gonna paraphrase here because I don't remember the exact line. But he basically tells V, who are you to say that your choices now are not what Johnny would do? Like, how do you take that? Like, because like V's been fighting for the longest time for control over his body, because he wants to separate Johnny from himself, right? He wants to continue to think that he's the one making the choices, because he has control of the body, right? Like they're like, and yes, he's scared of death. If you actually spend time with the hooker on Cloud,
I forgot the name. The dolls.
Yeah, the dolls. Like you explore that aspect. Like V actually is scared of death. He's scared of losing himself. But that line really made me think.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Has everything that I've done since I got this biochip something that I, as V, have been doing?
Or was it...
Or something that Johnny would do? And that's what sells it to me. That's what what's still keeping me, playing Cyberpunk 2077.
To get more of those lines.
Despite all the stuff that's happening, I still love the game for that. It's just a shame that this amazing story is being drowned out by all the issues surrounding the game. Yeah. Like that type of exposition, that type of interaction that makes you think like, am I really doing all of this because I'm V, or is it because I'm turning into Johnny? Mm-hmm. Is it like, because like it makes you question everything that you've done up until that point. Yeah. Because I know that Johnny, like, there's moments where, like, Johnny, like, likes to say his piece, and he likes to say, like, wow, really, you're doing this shit? I wouldn't do this shit. But maybe he does. Maybe he would have.
And maybe that's you talking shit back to him.
Right? Like, you don't know that. Because, like, at this point in the game, you and, like, Johnny and you are one person. Mm-hmm. One person, two basically two minds sharing one body. Mm-hmm. And that's so fucking cool in my eyes. If Cyberpunk wouldn't have had all the issues that it had, holy shit, would this game have blown up in a good way. Mm-hmm. So despite me being disappointed with everything that's happened so far, I'm still very hopeful for the game, because if the game can deliver the these moments where I'm pondering on what I've been doing in the game, and to be fair, not a lot of games made me think that way. despite how much I like The Last of Us 2, it felt more like a movie than it felt like a game.
Mm-hmm. And you didn't have to say, you don't have a say most of the game.
Right, and you're like, and I, like, at the end of the Last of Us, I didn't think, wow, like, was this really all worth it? Like, it was just like Ellie, like, I felt for Ellie, but I wasn't Ellie. That's how it felt like for me, you know? Like, but I'm feeling the same thing that V's feeling. Like, when like, how to, like, in a way, it's kind of interesting because who's to say that we are not Johnny Silverhand in this situation as well? We are the player. We are V. We are the one that moved V to wherever he is. So who's to say that we're not the Johnny Silverhand in this situation as well? Mm-hmm. We're like, maybe V doesn't want to do the things that we're making him do, but we're making him do it anyway because that's something that we would do as a player. You know? That's some meta shit right there. And that's the things that I like. I like that stuff. I like that type of storytelling. Which is like I said, I will remain hopeful for this game, but
see, my fear with you just being so ingrained in the story is whenever you finish the story, whether it is before or after they fix the game, will you feel compelled to come back and play it again? See, because now you've gotten your piece out of it. Now you got everything out of it, so why come back if the most valuable thing out of it you already experienced?
See, that's the thing. I can't answer that.
I can't answer that.
And your answer is yes. I mean,
I do. I want to go back and play it right now. I don't want to play through the whole thing again, but I do want to keep playing the game because I enjoy like the gameplay loop of
it. And the game is fun. And that's like it is true that this podcast kind of took a somber note. It kind of like and a little bit of a identity crisis type of theme, but nonetheless, the game still stands on if it can definitely be great. It still has a lot of potential. The game is great. It plays good. Whenever it does play good, it plays good. Mm-hmm. I feel like if anything, Jake is having the best experience of it because he's actually playing on a PC, and probably the PC it's holding back some of the bugs that may be affecting the console gamers. Whereas again, most of the numbers that of the returns just come from console themselves, and even then we also saw that CD Projekt Red made a huge number in terms of sales, and people are still holding to the game even after despite all the
refunds and stuff like that. They sold 13 million.
So the game,
that is huge. Wow.
Yeah, so the game is still definitely good, and everybody that still has it knows that the game can be better, and hence why they're keeping it. So this is not a conversation to bash on the game because the game still stands to be better. But it all depends on where CD Projekt Red takes it from here. Mm-hmm. The ball is definitely on the court even after the lawsuit, because I'm pretty sure that after that, those kind of winnings, that lawsuit is meaningless to a certain degree.
Well, I certainly hope so.
And I'm pretty sure that the game will continue to increase the revenue once it gets fixed.
I hope so, because I have a couple things that I want to see, and I think of it as my prediction. And I'm also kind of scared of saying it too, because
come Nostradamus, tell us your wisdom.
So it's kind of scary because what is it, like the first three episodes of our podcast, like I've said something that ends up happening.
Oh yes, I wanted to hear that.
So like it's kind of scary to even like talk about, because I don't want it to be like what I say and then whether it's successful or not, right?
Make sure to include the lottery numbers, please.
Right? You're damn right. So I will just go ahead and say this. First of all, they definitely need to fix all the bugs and all the frame rate issues, all the performance issues in the base PS4. That needs to happen. I'm not expecting them to have it be 60 frames just like the PS5.
Hell no, this game's not running on 60
but PS4. It needs to be stable. Because I've seen enough of Neko's gameplay. Neko is playing on PS4, mind you. If no one has known,
base.
If no one knew up until now, yes, Neko is playing on a base PS4.
Came out in 2013, like with Destiny 1. It's Arctic white, beautiful white PS4 that I'm not changing for the hell of it.
Yeah, so
it's fuming, but it's still running.
The game needs to be stable, and it's not stable.
Yeah.
Neko's playthrough is it's a little bit of a headache to see at times.
It's averaging at best 20 frames.
Not even.
You don't think so?
No.
Wow.
Like
that's
my
like
fighting
Ocarina,
scenes,
lower than Ocarina numbers.
It's 15 at best, and that's if Neko is in an enclosed area by himself.
That's a slideshow.
Dude, like my
That's
built,
Monster Hunter.
I'm built my character to be just melee focus, reflexes, so I'm always up in people's faces. I have to say, I probably see their faces once or twice in the fight, and it's mainly whenever I stab them for the last time, because I cannot see them. And it's funny because I'm like, look at this fight, look at this, what the Mantis Blade can do, and all that Mikey sees is just the guy just falling to the floor, because that's the last thing in the freaking frame.
You just charge up and he's dead. That's
Yeah.
it.
No, yeah.
Yeah,
bad.
I can't complain.
But regardless, it is still fun whenever you get to see the actual slideshow actually happen.
When your enemy is a straight line away, all you have to do is just walk forward.
Yes.
He's stuck. He can't do anything. He's like locked in a corner. You can't. Nowhere else to run.
I feel like maybe this is why I actually taken the stealth approach, is because I can actually better see what's happening. I low-key think that may be one of the factors. It's not that I'm actively thinking about it, but I'm just sneaking around. Not much is happening. They're not moving. They're just looking behind, and then everything goes smooth, right? Like the movement of them getting choked and whatnot. So I feel like if anything, that also factors in as to why I'm now playing more stealthily and not just gun blazing. Although that I've had my fair share, right?
Yeah.
The game, I'm still enjoying it, right? So even if it's on that frame rate, the PS4, but what I feel like it should be done, even if, let's say, they cannot deliver the 30 FPS, they cannot deliver the game to run smoothly on you said the word right now, I cannot even say it right now, a standard pace?
A stable pace.
Stable pace, like everything is just running in the same rhythm throughout the whole game, then give either a particular percentage off of the PS5 version of the game, or just give it for free for those who have it on PS4, which it is definitely a bad thing to do in terms of revenue. You're gonna suffer, but at least you're giving the chance for the people who want to play it to keep on playing it, rather than just saying, you know what, we tried everything, there's no way of making this game playable for PS4. Here is your actual refund.
Do you think this game is playable on PS4? On a base?
It can be, but I feel like definitely the graphics are gonna take it to
I will say this. If they fix everything, yes. If they fix all the performance issues, yes. It might not, like, what I'm guessing that they'll probably just do is probably, like, have it be like on lower settings, like if you put it on low settings on
or
the
less
PC,
crowded.
They would probably
could just make the
make it
default less crowded.
They would probably make it less crowded. They might I don't know if they would want to do that, but they could potentially maybe put like a fog of war type of setup, like have it be where like the game can unload a certain areas of the game to increase frame rate, because that's something that you can do, like earlier PlayStation 1 games, like for example Silent Hill, they had this fog effect so that they can only load where the player is, and then have the camera follow the player, and then load where the player is, and everything else is unloaded. That could be something that they can implement in the PS4 version to increase frame rate. But I would definitely want to see the base PS4 stable, at least. I want them to include respec options. I think that's I think that needs to be that's a necessity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think it's on their priority list? Because there's so much crap.
I would not, but it cannot be ignored either.
Yeah.
Because you will stunt player growth. Player growth is very important. If you don't feel like you're making any actual progress in the game, what's keeping you what's keeping you playing?
That's a good point.
Another thing, And then like these could just be minor, but like they need to be more clear about romance options.
They
need to expand.
They need to be more clear about that. Whether they expand or not, it's entirely that.
I think their intentions were to have more than one.
They have one per gender.
Yes.
You have.
I'm not, but that's the thing. I'm not dating a guy.
Yeah, I know, but that's the thing. You're only limited to one choice.
Mm-hmm.
Mass Effect has multiple meaningful romance options.
Persona had what, 12?
Yeah, but like you don't go that far with Persona. The reason I say Mass Effect is because you could effectively romance like whoever you wanted. Mm-hmm. And yes, there were some like same gender options locked, but you know, who's to say that they can't make it where you can make Judy straight? Mm-hmm. Like you could.
Oh, this whole conversation was just to beg CDPR.
No. Because like, here's the thing. Like, I mean, like, I'm not trying to say that I want Judy, but I want Judy. Just saying, you know.
Everybody does.
Like I understand what they were trying to go for. They're trying to make it more realistic. You know, they wanted you to try so that you can get rejected. But like, a lot of players don't like rejection, though.
Yeah.
You don't like. You're gonna have this bitter feeling when you've been trying your hardest, doing all the missions for Judy, for her to just be like, I'm not into guys.
For her to be like, actually, Panem's the only romantic option in this entire game. Go get her.
Yes. So like, and that's like,
I can see what you mean by making it clear.
It's upsetting because like, here's the thing. Like, there are moments where like it feels like I've made good progress with Judy. Mm-hmm. Like the other day I had I had her texting V to see if I had made any progress with the Voodoo Boys, and then she legit said that she like, oh, like I just don't want you to disappear and end up like Evelyn. And then I had a conversation and it kind of feels
like there was some
like
care behind
I
it.
wouldn't say that there's chemistry, but there's a potential relationship forming with Judy. And to know that at the end of this relationship with her, I like it just falls flat because she's not into guys. Mm-hmm. It stings.
That would be okay if there were more options. Like, I'd be okay with that if there were more options.
Right, but there's only one option there's one option for opposite gender, and then there's only one option for same sex either.
Yes. And if we're talking like sleeping around options, there's one hooker for each gender on the street, and they're in the same exact location.
And you have also like these flings that are potential hookups, but that's about it. Mm-hmm. Like Meredith Stout, which is like the Militech lady at the beginning. If you do what she tells you to do, you can hook up with her, and that's it. Mm-hmm. But she'll just call you over for you to have sex, and then that's it. You never hear from her again. Mm-hmm. That's no different than a hookup with a prostitute.
Yeah.
And I only have this one option with Pan Am, and that's it.
And even if you play your cards right, because you can also screw it up.
And exactly, like they need to be more clear on that. They can't just expect the player to be like, nah, Judy's straight up lesbo. You can't go with her because you're a guy. You got a dick. You know, like it makes no sense. Who's to say that not even Neko can get get Judy because Neko actually has a male body part.
Ooh, I didn't think about that.
I mean, I've been thinking about that all the time. It's like how is it gonna work?
Like how does that not an oversight? You know, mm-hmm. I would like to see like that being more clear, and then potentially adding more romance options later. I'm talking like potentially like an expansion type deal, which is something like they did that with The Witcher, but you already had some really good relationships in The Witcher. You know, you had Triss Marigold, you had Jennifer, and then you had these other like I guess hookups and flings. But you gotta the difference between like that and Cyberpunk is that at least in The Witcher 3, you had time to build a relationship with these characters. Because Keira Metz, I think she was introduced, in The Witcher 2. Mm-hmm. And if you played through The Witcher 2, you form a relationship with her. You get to talk to her. And then when you go over to The Witcher 3, you already have a relationship with Keira Metz. So even if it's just a hookup in the third game, you had this relationship with her previously. So it feels more than that. You don't get that with Cyberpunk. You just get to meet up with this random-ass hooker and that's it. Mm-hmm. You know? No real relationship.
And it plays a 20-second cutscene.
Yes. Yeah. So I would love to see some more romance options. I want them to explore more of what it would have been working with Jackie. We only get a tiny taste of it.
We literally get 2 missions with him, like actual missions with him, and that's it.
Like I want more an expansion on what it was like being with Jackie. Because
Jackie was a fun character. I got a couple of people saying that like he seemed forced because it was clear what they wanted to do, and I knew exactly what they wanted to do from the get go. I knew he was gonna die. Like I can see it because of like the whole mentorship style things that happen, and all of a sudden you're buddies and whatnot, and all of a sudden it's like you are getting into really shady things and like higher risk things. And they're not gonna kill off B, of course, which actually spoiler, they did, but here we are.
He came back.
Yeah, so I knew that Jackie was gonna go. I just wish that, like you said, we have more time. And I'm pretty sure I'm wondering if you did not progress in the story, would there be more side missions with him?
Perhaps.
I didn't give it a chance.
I didn't either.
I didn't get a chance to actually check.
Yeah, I didn't either, but
I don't know. Yeah. I would like to see something happen like a later expansion that reflects on what your ending was in the beginning of the game.
That would be cool.
Like what your ending was in the original game, have it reflects in an expansion later on.
If I was the president of the world of gaming, I would want them to just fix the bugs on, say, base last gen consoles. Yeah. Make sure they're evenly optimized across the board, and then scrap Cyberpunk 2020 and just work on a definitive like Cyberpunk 2020 experience for current gen over the next
kind of like a Final Fantasy A Realm Reborn type deal, where they just like scrap.
Yeah, 11. I mean, it wasn't 11. The first
14.
Yeah, 14. The
where
first
generation. They scrap 14 and then remake it
with the Realm Reborn.
And then
like I'm saying this, I would want it to be more of a remake than just them adding more features.
Yeah,
like take the game that you have now and just build off of that over the next few years,
and then bring it back up in the market.
I mean, they could do that because
it's gonna be bittersweet though. Bittersweet if they do, because now we don't have anything to play. That'll be the sad part of it.
I'm saying that they should, patch what they have now, and then
just later
because
on
you can't
release it.
You can't fix this game. Like you could, but it would take 10 years. To add in everything that they said that would be in here. Fix all the bugs, add more romance options, add all this side content that you want. Just take 2 or 3 years, make a super definitive version with all the content,
all the stuff that they took out later on.
Make sure that we can climb on walls with the mantis blades.
I think what I would like to see that as well. And then have it be where if you are a legacy player, you bought the original 2077. And you still have a copy, that you should be able to get a the next version is the version 2.0, right, of 2077 for free, because they did that for Final Fantasy 14.
They did?
Yes, only for the legacy players though. The people that were jumping into the new game fresh off, they had to pay for it.
But the problem is, I mean, I can see it working, but at the same time, they literally shoot themselves in the foot as well, because of the fact that many people that are gonna play the game are the people that are already playing it or have already played it.
Well, I mean,
so not many new people are gonna jump in.
And granted, I understand what you mean, but you also Final Fantasy 14 went through the same thing.
I guess
the game was horrible.
I saw that.
And they had a new team working on the Realm Reborn, and while they were still running the old game. So they were making the new version, which is A Realm Reborn, the one that we see and hear and play now. And then while they were working on that one, they were running the previous one. They were still patching and updating the story on the previous one up until the last event of the game, which is where they shut the servers down,
and then reopen
and
them
then
afterwards
they
for the whole-
reboot the servers with the new game.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That would probably be a really good idea.
All right.
Get Blue Point in there.
And
They would
let's
make everything.
so let's say, to kind of start closing this off, what would be your I guess your your score of the game from like I guess 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
What right now is the game standing for?
As
you?
of right now, I had looked into the Metacritic score, and then
Should we take into account, like, is it based off our enjoyment, or are we taking into account everything that's going on around the game?
You can use your enjoyment to so let's split it in half. Let's say what is your rating for your own personal reasons, and then what is the other rating based on everything that it has.
Okay.
So, I will say based on my own enjoyment, it is I would say close to a 6 point, like a 6 leading to a 7.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 6.5, 6.8 type of deal. Like, while I've been enjoying the game a lot, the combat feels great. Like, the stuff that I really do like about the game, I love. I absolutely love. Like, that there's no way right now that, all the other stuff is gonna take away from the fact that the stuff that I love about the game is amazing.
Okay.
However, the fact that all this other stuff is that is happening, the performance issues, the lawsuit, the fact that there's no actual ways of fixing your progression in the game, which is a big thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the fact that I'm stuck where I'm at right now until I level up, it hurts. It hurts.
Mm-hmm.
It pisses me off because I can't progress as a character. I can't get better at my cyber hacking because I don't have enough stats in my intelligence. That hurts. So that's holding it back. So a 6.8, close to a 7. I can see them fixing those things fairly soon. Supposedly, their first title update should be maybe in February, I think.
Mm-hmm. I heard January, but probably
January or February. We'll see. We'll see.
And then so is that your personal rating? And what about just the general gameplay?
It would be roughly the same. I think my overall my rating is very close to what I feel the game is overall. It's a fair game. It's not. There's a lot of stuff holding it back from being a good game, but all the bad stuff is not pushing it all the way to have it be a shitty game.
Mm-hmm.
I've played shitty games before, and this game is not it.
Exactly.
It's not wasted potential, but if they don't fix it, it will be gone. It will be.
I'm kind of taking into account that we have never, I've really thought about this. We've never seen anything like this, and if we have, we've definitely never seen it with a game this big.
Yeah, up to the scale.
Yeah, this was, for a lot of people, you could say that this is the most anticipated game of all time.
Yeah.
And it's not on the PlayStation Store because of how much of a wreck it is.
Yes.
And it's very buggy. It crashes. So if I was to grade it based off of everything surrounding it, it'd probably be pretty negative, a 4. This is not a good, it's got a good story, but games are about having fun, and if you can't play, if it's running,
you're definitely not having fun if you're not playing.
Yeah,
right.
If it's crashing, if you're running at 15 frames, if you're using the mantis blades and all you see is a guy in the ceiling, it's you're not getting the true experience. And with all I won't call them lies because I feel so bad about saying lies. The game was rushed out.
Yes.
I truly believe that CD Projekt Red really wanted to make this game.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That is very clear.
Yes.
And the stuff that they actually finished and the stuff that it actually works, you can see the high level of quality that is expected of CD Projekt Red.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just everything else.
Mm-hmm.
It clearly looks like they did not have enough time to finish everything.
Mm-hmm. And so I'd say a 4 there. And I'm the complete opposite on my own personal rating because, again, I played on PC. with a 1080p monitor. I ran it on Ultra. It ran just fine. Ran it at 60
Smooth
frames.
as fuck.
Yeah, it was a little buggy. It crashed once. Minimal glitches. No big deal. And, game is supposed to be fun. I had fun. I love the story. I love the ending. So I'd probably say like an 8.5, close to a 9.
Wait, you're telling me that you only crashed once?
I only crashed one time.
I've crashed 10 times.
Wow. I crashed once, and it was when I was opening the game. It wasn't even like in the middle of my.
No, I've crashed 10 times, all for different reasons.
Wow.
I've reported every single one.
The reason why I stopped playing for the day is because it crashed. So the one that it crashes, I'm done with the game for the day.
Really?
Yes.
No.
And it happens often. So I mean, I've been playing it where it doesn't crash, or sometimes it crashes, but it's a minor crash, and I can just reload it when I run it again. But the one that does it a second time, and if it's after a good span of time, then I just feel like I got my fair share of time playing the game today. I'll just switch to something else, which is sad to say because I do enjoy it. But for me, the crash is more like you should stop playing for today. I'm like, okay, I got it, thank you. And it's cool that you say that. It's crazy that you say the 8.5 because not necessarily I was aiming that high with my personal enjoyment. But I was kind of fighting between the 6.5 and above, but I feel like I find myself more in the middle ground with the 7.5 to 7, just like in that range. Not lower than 7, not higher, not to an 8 standpoint. Because let's be honest, if I really was enjoying the game, I would not be logging into Monster Hunter. I would not be logging into Apex, unfortunately. And it's driven by the bugs, unfortunately. And if it wasn't because of the bugs, if it wasn't because of the things, I honestly see myself playing it more often than not, and enjoying it even more. The game is fun. It's great. It has a lot of potential. Like I said, a lot of things that the sheer amount of weapons, the sheer amount of things that you can collect in the game, just feel like there's. Yes, you get the same kind of mask every other time. Yes, but they sometimes have an extra added fullness to it. So there's definitely a lot of things in there that I completely enjoy. But now, in terms of the actual game and how it runs, then I don't want to drop it lower than a 5. So hence why I found it so weird that and you're right. You got a point. The whole point of a game is to be able to play it. But if you're not unable to play it, then at what point is that a game, right? Yes. So. But I definitely would just put it on a flat 5 because it is fair to say that at this point you should be looking to next gen regardless.
Absolutely.
Next gen is regardless base starting next year. So 2021, everybody should be looking for Xbox Series X, and everybody should be looking for PlayStation 5 and keep running their old games in there until new ones start coming out. And PC players, well, clearly you don't have a problem since your number's so high. But regardless, it is hence why I don't want to drop it below, because in a PS5 it doesn't seem to crash as much. But Mikey said he has crashed over around 10 times or plus. Mine has seriously crashed over 30 times. No joke. And in just one of them, just a single thing kept crashing my game 7 times. It was just getting on a bike. And in the same spot.
I remember that.
Oh my god.
Granted, I was testing it out because I was so confused as to why it was happening. And it started from just the bike being stuck on an invisible wall towards the police around me thinking that I was stealing it for some odd reason because I parked it there. And it the combat itself immediately crashed the game because it was that particular bike. And it was so odd. Granted, it was the same action, so I could have just avoided it. Yes. But I was just testing it out. But definitely over 30 times, even ignoring those.
Man. Wow.
It hurts to talk about it at this length and because go back a couple episodes and you'll see how excited I was for this game.
All of us were to a degree. Even I didn't know much about the game.
I didn't want to know a lot because of how excited, how exciting the world seemed.
I'll remain hopeful.
Definitely.
I will. I'll leave it at this note. I will continue to support Cyberpunk 2077, but I'll be extremely wary of supporting any other CD Projekt Red game from here on.
I think I'm the opposite.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, fuck Cyberpunk, just start working on The Witcher 4.
I mean, granted, the reason why Mikey says it is, again, going back to his earlier point, is they should have learned from Witcher 3.
They should have.
And
Yeah,
they didn't.
That's true. That's true.
They should. 77 growing, it will grow up to be better, right? But then what about the next game? Is it gonna do the
we will have to see if they like.
Hopefully not.
I hope that they learned. Everything that happened with Cyberpunk 2077. I hope they learn from it, and when they make their next game, whether it be The Witcher 4 or Cyberpunk multiplayer or just a remake of Cyberpunk 2077 or whatever they do, that they learn from everything that's happened with this game and do better.
I am sorry, but if you don't learn from a lawsuit, then there's no hope for you. So I hope, again, that they learn from this. Cause
I think that's the least of their problems, like getting your game taken off the PlayStation Store.
The people that just got their PS5's gonna get it.
That's so crazy.
Unless it's physical. Yeah. So hopefully this does not happen again, because
we'll see. We'll see, because I remember Steam taking Batman Arkham Asylum off of their store.
Oh really?
Yeah, they took it.
Oh, it was Arkham Knight, wasn't it? Or was it Arkham Asylum? I think it was Arkham Knight.
It was like, what was like the last one?
Yeah, Arkham Knight.
Arkham Knight.
That game was,
So that was a really big bad port on the PC, and they took it off. And when they fixed it, when Rocksteady fixed it and re-released it back on the Steam page, it was amazing from what I hear. Like, people loved it. Like, it was everything that they wanted and more. So hopefully CDPR does the exact same thing with Cyberpunk. That when it comes back on the PlayStation Store, it's almost as if it's a new game altogether. It's like the release that should have been, maybe.
Hopefully. I'm definitely hoping for that day.
Yeah.
Because the game is good.
For sure.
It can be great.
All right, will that do it for this one?
Yeah.
The therapy session is done.
Yep.
I don't know, man. We all know that we could just go on and
We
on.
could, but we gotta remain hopeful. I
cannot keep charging Mikey. This is like 70 per hour, and we're reaching the 2 hours here.
Most definitely. Like,
I'm sorry.
We will, like, I don't want to say anything more on it, because at this point it's just kind of beating a dead horse.
Going down the rabbit hole.
So
There's so much of
at this point, all I hope to see is that a couple months from now, maybe we can revisit like this topic again and see how they have been doing, and have they improved or not. We'll see.
We will see. And that'll do it for the Cyberpunk talk. Next week we'll be back talking about our favorite games of 2020, what we're looking forward to.
Yes.
Maybe some underrated games, some overlooked games. And yeah, that'll do it for this episode, and we will see you next week.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
See ya.